This build is so strong, it will easily carry you through the Grandmaster Hypernet Current Strike this week and through any challenging endgame activity inside Destiny 2, as long as you have the right mods and subclass set up perfectly. We're going to go through the super first. I am actually using Sentinel Shield. I know it's a little bit of a throwback. A lot of people don't really remember a time when people actually use Sentinel Shield, but it is very strong. And in this particular strike, you don't really need a bubble. So I like to pop my Sentinel Shield every now and again and throw the shield at enemies. I can shield bash into enemies. It's actually very useful, especially when you have a bunch of different blights that you have to run through like a maze. I can pop my super so that way I can make it through safely to the other side, clearing the ads along the way. I'm actually using Sentinel Shield intentionally for this build. Next up, we'll talk about the Rally Barricade. We are choosing this over the Towering Barricade just because we get it back a little bit faster. We don't really need the Towering Barricade for blocking enemies and blocking incoming damage. So we're going to use this so that way we can ability spam as much as possible using Heart of Inmost Light along with various other mods on our armor. Catapult Lift, of course, for skating, and Shield Throw so we can throw this out at enemies. This will be the strongest melee utility we'll want to use for this build. We've got Vortex Grenade. It's going to be the best grenade of choice. Then we have the aspects. We've got Offensive Bulwark, and then we're going with Controlled Demolition. This is going to be essential to this build, so that way we can get lots and lots of volatility, and we can get overshields and everything else. Now going down to the Fragments. This is really important. This is where you can go wrong when putting on this build by putting on the wrong Fragments. First up, you definitely want Echo of Undermining. It doesn't matter what Void class you're using. Titan Hunter, Warlock, you should almost always have Undermining because the ability to debuff targets makes it so much easier to defeat them, whether you're talking about champions, mini bosses, or bosses. Echo of Undermining is a must-have for all Void builds. Moving on to the next one, this is also a must-have build, a must-have fragment for any Void build, that is, which is Echo of Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power grants Devour, so that's immediate health regeneration, and you have a significant timer on that. Getting kills while having Devour procced extends the timer and regains your health every single time. So this is really essential to this build. And every now and again, I inspect people and they have Void builds for PvE and they don't have this on. And I'm like, why? Why would you do this? You definitely want to have Devour on. And on top of that, it's really important that on your armor, you make as many orbs as possible as you complete the activity. In doing so, you'll just have infinite health. Right now, I'm rocking literally one recovery. I have one recovery and it doesn't matter because I'm going to get my health back from Devour. I'm not going to get my health back from sitting and hiding and recovering my health around a corner. Moving on to the next part, we have Echo of Provision. This is essential to this build as well because damaging targets with your grenades grants melee energy, and this is going to help you loop your abilities around as much as possible by throwing those grenades and having them last longer, which we're going to talk about in the next fragment. By having them last longer or by having your Devour last longer, depending upon which one you want to go with, you can actually get your abilities back really fast. So that way you can place your half wall down, throw your shield throw, and then throw your grenades as much as possible, debuffing targets and making orbs for Devour for you. The loop is perfect for this. Void Titan is so strong for this GM. Once you start getting used to the rhythm of this, you'll never want to take this class off. The last bit you can actually go with two here. The first one I choose here is Echo of Persistence, which does bring your resilience down. So if you're struggling with stats, probably don't pick this one, but I like the extended timer on Devour. The majority of people, though, I will recommend to use Echo of Remnants. This will make your grenades last a little bit longer, which will help with the gameplay loop of spamming your abilities from grenade to melee to Titan Wall back and forth through all three of them using Heart of Inmost Light, of course. So for the most of you out there, I would say use Remnants, but some of you out there, maybe Persistence. Make your own decision based on how well you're surviving through the activity. Riptide, of course, is going to be the weapon choice. I'm going to briefly go through the weapons, but you could use anything you want. Riptide is great because one burst will stun overloads in this GM and in any GM, and two bursts will stun unstoppable champions by breaking them out of it. Fighting Line is absolutely busted for Hypernet Current. And then I was just using the Briar's Contempt because I just got it, but you should probably use Cataclysmic instead. But I was having a little bit of fun with this. It's not nearly as good as Cataclysmic, but it's definitely pretty cool. Now moving on to all of the different armor abilities that we have for this class. We are going to be using on the helmet, Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scout. The reason why is because we're a team player and we're trying to get heavy ammo for all of our teammates. I could obviously spec into my own selfish build desires and try to spam more abilities or get more super energy for this, but getting enough power ammo to clear out rooms, clear out champs is essential. That's why we're definitely going to rock both of these so that way we help our teammates out. And I recommend you to tell your other teammates in the GM to rock both of them as well. It's only fair if you're going to drop power bricks for them, that they should try to drop power bricks for you. For the last bit, we're going to rock Void Siphon. Now this is because the primary weapon I'm using for clearing red bars is a Void weapon, the Fighting Lion. If I was using my Solar Machine Gun or anything else, I would use Solar Siphon or whatever matches that. So as you go through this activity, choose the siphon that matches the weapon you're using to primarily clear through the ads. Whatever that may be, choose that siphon so that way you drop tons of orb orbs giving yourself devour, your teammates drop orbs giving you devour, and so on and so forth. Going on down to the gauntlets, fastball is a must. I just like fastball because you don't want to miss your grenade. You don't want to throw your grenade at a distance and miss the target. You want to keep that gameplay loop going around with all of the different fragments and everything going on. So fastball, so that way your grenades actually land where you want them to be, so they can debuff the boss when it's necessary, so they can debuff anything, and vortex grenades can actually pull enemies in and just clear an entire mob of ads, which is really nice. I purposely chose Void Loader for this one just because I was rocking Fighting Lion, but you could rock something else. The last one is Bolstering Detonation, and I like this because you get class ability energy when you cause damage with your grenade, and you're going to cause a significant damage with your grenade, especially if you are using remnants, which last a really long time. You could use something like Momentum Transfer, which is causing damage with a grenade, reduces your melee cooldown. Now, using that would also mean that every time you throw your grenade, you're going to get class ability and melee energy back, so that would create a really nice loop. So I would recommend using that if you don't need to use a loader. Going on down to the chest piece, I just like Rainbow Resist for almost all activities now. Arc, Void, and Solar works really nice. But in this activity, it is Arc Threat, so you might want to rock double Arc Resist. Moving down to the boots now, we're going to go through the exact surges that I'm using. I'm purposely using 2 Solar Surges and then a Void Weapon Surge. I'm not using Recuperation because picking up an orb gives me Devour, so I don't need that health regeneration anymore. However, I do recommend to use this on any build that doesn't have Devour, so that way you have some survivability out there in these tough GMs. Double Solar Weapon Surge for my Linear Fusion Rifle and a Void Weapon Surge for the Fighting Lion means 17% damage increase to Solar Weapons and 10% damage increase to Void Weapons. That is really nice. Moving down to the class item now. I'm going to be rocking Reaper, of course. This is a must-use. Make sure all your teammates are rocking Reaper if you're ever doing a GM. It's really important. Every time you pop your class ability, you're going to make an Orb of Power the next time you get a kill, which of course you're just going to get a kill very close after that. And even if you don't, you have an indefinite timer on this. So this is really, really strong. And with Heart of Inmost Light, you're spamming your class ability everywhere. So you're just making orbs all the time, proccing Devour for yourself, proccing Surges for your teammates, and everything else. And then you have Bomber to go with this and Outreach, so that way we get our ability loop regeneration as fast as possible. This makes this entire build super strong and super fun to use in challenging endgame content. As far as stats go, we want to use 100 Resilience no matter what activity we're doing, so that way you can survive as much as possible. 100 Discipline works really well for this, and then I'm using as much Strength as possible. So all Resilience, all Discipline, and then all Strength. The other stats do not really matter as much. This build is meta-defining. This build is a game changer, and you will definitely want to use this build from time to time based on the activities. You may not be your main build. You may like to use something else, but for the time being and for the near future of Destiny 2, this will be a very, very strong build, if not one of the strongest builds for challenging endgame content. Let me know your thoughts about it, though, down in the comments below. If you want more content like this, smash the like button. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.